Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon or good night, depends on where you are. First, I would like to thank Dr. Hafiz for holding this event at a very timely place and time. Let me start by first and foremost talk about the subject of my interest for the past 2 decades, which is place. And place was a concept that is a bit not related to technology until we had advance in the georeferencing technology. And with the real adoption of GIS and the advance of GIS in real time, we started what we intend to become a database of our geographical places. But as our understanding of place is deepening, technology is also helping us record other important inputs into place, not only the location, but also how we feel about the location, how we see the location, how we perceive the location, how much time we go to that location, but also what's going good about this location, what's not working for us as a location. Not only on an individual level, as technology is actually advancing, we are more and more able to understand the community. What are the community needs? And what are the community issues? And what are the community aspirations that they would like to see in that place? And as I think with COVID-19, the importance of community is really underlined by the concept of the cluster. So in most of the COVID-19 research, communities are divided into neighborhoods, and these neighborhoods are actually becoming clusters. And there is a very big correlation between overcrowding in these clusters and COVID-19 transmission and also even surges. So we are hearing now of lockdown, of quarantining some areas, of closing some neighborhoods. And so with health and technology, the concept of neighborhood is taking also on different meanings in terms of a health measure. And with that background, I want to go into explaining how we can think of place in the future as a tool of resilience against not only COVID-19, because also COVID-19 is a short-term and particular threat. Pandemics seems they are here to stay, and we need to actually plan a response that takes into consideration health, community, sustainability, resilience, but also mental health. So without further ado, I'm going to move into my second slide. I just want to check, are you all seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. So one of the most important aspects of place for COVID-19 in particular is physical distancing. And this is where health and urban planning and urban design actually became very involved in the emergency response of many cities. And in this physical distancing age, what we have seen is public transport affected, so the access and mobility to places is affected because of the lower quanta of people we can accommodate. The second thing, in terms of our public places, especially sidewalks, the act of walking also has been kind of regulated through physical distancing, the 6 feet apart. The third one, in green spaces, we are not able to accommodate the crowds that used to be accommodated in green spaces, but also inequality in green spaces, where if communities have green spaces where they can walk, if other communities do not have the right proportion of green spaces, they are quarantining at home. And the last last one, which is very important, is the emphasis on biking as a way of transport, especially within the clusters that are on lockdown, because as you know, in most of the lockdown cities, cars were not allowed because in the car, the transmission of COVID-19 is definitely increased. The second aspect of physical distancing and place is that place has gained more importance as an arena for social mingling. So people actually understood more the value of place as a way where they can socially mingle without physical transmission or threat of physical transmission of COVID-19 inside closed spaces. The second midterm now urgency is the redesigning of open and public spaces. And as you can see, lots of fun ways in which the placemaking can be made more fun, maybe also more in an artistic sense. And the last point that was very important for cities is that the proportion of green spaces, as you can see in most of these photos that I'm showing, it's more about the hard spaces, so spaces that are paved. But also there is now more importance into green spaces, and I'm going to link that to health, and especially mental health. So in terms of guidelines for streets, these are taken by the typical guidelines for COVID-19, how streets could be redesigned for the midterm for COVID-19. So there are multiple functions of a street that could be changed. One is how we can change the street in a way to accommodate different people who can line up for supermarkets. So also increase the distance of sidewalk to accommodate different people. The second one is, as you can see, biking, how we can transform the street parking into biking lanes that are safe. New York has been experimenting and actually adopted a new outdoor guidelines where restaurants, especially that are very small to accommodate large crowds, they can actually go over the sidewalk into the street parking. And even there are some patterns where the street itself becomes a playground, especially for communities who are disadvantaged, that are not able to provide the right green space or play opportunities for their neighborhoods. Finally, last but not least, how we can have functions in the street, because it seems that in open spaces, we have less transmission than in closed spaces because of the cooling effect. Now that taken into consideration the street, what about green spaces? And for green spaces, it has been more experimental, I have to say. So first, we have seen green spaces where actually sitting has been delineated, and it's like bubbles. There have been some experiment in landscape architecture. What does it mean to design a space in an era of physical distancing? But also we have seen some real community experiments with transforming, like for example, leftover spaces into urban agriculture, especially that people, as they are confined to their homes, they start being aware more of their surrounding. They start notice things that they haven't noticed before. And that newly found awareness have made people want to contribute to their immediate space, being more close to nature, and maybe even bringing nature closer to them. This is in Vienna, and this is one of the cities where sidewalks have been turned into urban agriculture, where people can actually sit with their neighbors, and the neighbors can actually manage their own green space, their own urban agriculture spot. But also, as you can see, it's designed in a way to let them come together. This is a prototype of an urban room, and basically it's a prototype that we designed at Placemaking for a different function. But in COVID-19, we thought it could be a way where students can study together, where employees and employers can meet together, but also it's a space where you can just have a outdoor sitting area that is really very important in countries that have some environmental periods where you have either too much sun or too much cold or too much heat. And this urban room can also benefit from technology in terms of registering people use and also people activities, and we can start to know how communities and especially groups inside communities have certain activities, so we can plan ahead of them. The second point that really became, and I think there was a mental health day yesterday, so it's becoming an epidemic with the pandemic of COVID-19, which is mental health. And especially with the quarantine and the lockdown, mental health is really gaining stage. Now, mental health has been always the platform of psychology and mind training experts. But we are seeing now more and more research on how actually place can support mental health, and place can make a very big contribution to how people are actually benefiting from their assets in their neighborhoods. One of them, and this is very important, is the just act of walking, and how we can put parks in a way that are strategically located so we can encourage people to walk, encourage people to go beyond their private space. The second one is how we can actually have less depression and less anxiety and less fear just by the act of using the car less, and maybe encouraging people to park their car and walk. The third one, there is a significant reduction of heart disease and also of hospitalization if one is exposed to green spaces. And any range of green spaces can do. A group of trees next to your house, a walk in the park, a walk in the forest, or just interacting with green space. And this were developed into evidence-based recommendations. These are recommendations that were based on the research that have data behind them, which I can gladly share whenever anybody is interested. So the first one is mix of land uses, well-connected street network, sidewalks, biking, stairs. We need multi-generational play and recreation, spaces for children, a grocery store, farmer market, side gardening, and also all the environmental issues, clean air, good airflow, lack of pollution, and social engagement. Now, all of these evidence-based recommendations points also to the same issues we have mentioned before regarding streets revamping for COVID-19. And this is where a place-led response is so important for COVID-19, because it's a people-centered approach that makes physical distancing not only easier to implement, but they contribute to healthier community because of nature. They contribute to economic prosperity because they activate public destination. They contribute to emotional safety because communities feel like they belong there. And also you will have a value that is captured because of that. And this is where I advocate this as part of my bigger concept of place-led cities and communities. Now, why the 4.0 is in this place-led approach to COVID-19? I think my colleagues who presented before me have gone through all the bases or arguments supporting technology. So 90% of our world data is going to be and is georeferenced. What this means is that our urban systems are more and more connected to our software systems and hardware systems and our data systems. And they need to support also social systems. And neighborhood is one of the most sophisticated social systems, because it is in that system where we can see energy waste, people, community, and also even emotions and perceptions and memory and mental health played out. And how do we connect the two? How we can use technology in a way to support this place-led approach. And there are four really dimensions where technology can help. One, of course, in alternative energy, because the less energy we use, we are contributing to a healthier community. A neighborhood has a clean or good air quality when the whole city has good air quality. And as we know, two of the main sources of carbon emissions in cities are cooling or let's say mechanical systems such as air cooling or heating and transport. So this is very important. Second is safety. And when we say safety, as my colleagues have said, of course, cybersecurity comes under safety, because we know that cybersecurity now is more linked to how we mentally feel safe in using our data, but also how we can make our public spaces places of work. So how a green space can become a place of work when while we are safely browsing or working through the internet without feeling that we are under attack. So safety is very important. Innovation, and this is where I'm going to talk in more detail about innovation. This is one of the most important aspects that is needed from the fourth industrial revolution on place-led approach, because innovation is the only way we can make cities more sustainable and also more resilient to any pandemic, especially in responding to COVID-19. Finally, I think sustainability, and some might argue that alternative energy could fall under sustainability, but what I mean here, sustainability is really sustainability strategies. How we can make our sustainability strategies more place-focused, more local, and even I would say more hyper-local, because a lot of people are not able to translate that. And technology can really help us a lot in terms of making sure that people understand. There is a lot of apps out there that calculate for people how they can reduce their carbon emissions and how they can actually contribute to a sustainable community and a sustainable neighborhood. And that whole approach, I have summarized it in this model. I think I'm not going to take you all through the dimensions of this model. I'm just going to take you, for example, through the infrastructure part and the private development part. So if you go about the private development part, is really about talking about climate responsiveness, how we can have diverse land uses, and how we can have a gradual intensification of development that actually is in line with community needs. For infrastructure, it's more about, of course, the streets, which I shared with you, how we can make the streets more open, more connected to the community with nodes in between. And there is a certain diameter within that neighborhood could happen. Maybe we have nodes around 200 meters. There was a lot of talk. I don't know if you're aware of the Paris mayor, Anne Hidalgo. She wants to transform Paris into 15-minute neighborhoods. Now, this model is not the 15-minute neighborhood, because the issue of the 15-minute has been long debated. This model is more about how we can take districts and communities and make place as part of their daily life. So it's about place rather than the time in which neighborhoods are measured. Now, this is where we reach the role of technology. So technology is very important in that place-led approach that I just showed you, in order to make it a social impact. So technology is a way to make these topics social driver of cultural change within the communities. So we can talk about healthier communities, more inclusive community, how technology can help us bring the different members of these communities together to actually project their aspirations into place, and how they can actually feed into these different dimensions of place, and how they can accelerate the implementation of these aspirations into the place. In terms of vibrancy, there is a lot of experiments in Australia, actually. Adil Yadid is one of these cities that technology has been experimented as a way to bring more vibrancy by, for example, one of its apps is Splash Adil Yadid, where they actually, communities post their events into that app, and everybody can actually share these events. And these events are usually about places, about nodes that mean something to people. And they hold also international festivals in some places for certain communities, which everybody is invited to attend. Prosperous because social entrepreneurship and is really facilitated by technology, and and social entrepreneurs are able to transform livability into tangible actions and tangible initiatives and tangible projects through the use of technology. For example, crowdfunding is one of the most important ways in which technology is helping to launch social entrepreneurs and fund projects. And we have seen it in many cities where also crowdfunding is enabling communities to develop apps, to share food, to share services, and so forth. And for that, I have a small video to show you on how technology can be used from a place-led approach as well.
Hi, Nadine. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Yes. So there was no voice.
Okay. Okay. So sorry about that. I will share the link on the chat, and please, I would love you to have a look at the video.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you. And at that point, I'm more than happy to take any questions you have.
Okay. Thank you very much, Nadine. If there are any questions from the audience, please feel free to ask. Okay. Can you elaborate about some, neighborhood initiatives going on in Dubai? Can you give some examples or something happening in Dubai?
Just yes. I think that hello.
Yes.
Can you hear?
Yes.
Just let me stop the sharing. Stop sharing. Yes. Yes. So place sourcing as an initiative is still in the making. We are still building the technology platform. So I'm happy to get mentored in that aspect. So we are still building the technology platform for place sourcing in order to launch it hopefully for the Gulf countries and also for the Middle East in general. But in terms of the place COVID-19 and place initiatives, I think that the guidelines for transforming some of these spaces have already been applied to the green parks in Dubai. So Dubai municipality have taken these guidelines and applied them to the green spaces when Dubai was on lockdown. Now there is an easement of lockdown in most of the cities in the Gulf. So now it's more about how they can make the cities resilient on the medium term and long term. And there is now more uptake of the guidelines in terms of what are the green spaces, how we can make green spaces more equitable, how we make sure that all communities have access to that, what are the measures that we can take to make people more healthy and adopting a more healthier guidelines. And that's why in now place making as one of the aspects of a place-led approach is now taking more uptake in terms of quality of life. So you are more and more hearing about how we can make cities have a higher quality of life, because in health we are talking about what we call salutogenic landscapes. So landscape that actually contributes to health before the pandemic starts, not after it starts. And for that, as I mentioned in my presentation, green space and green space guidelines play a very big role into that. And this is where most of the attention, at least from a urban planning and urban design community, this is where we're going. And technology is helping us in three ways, as I've said, but I'm going to repeat. One in GIS, so Geographical Information System, how we can map these spaces and how we can make sure they are distributed across the community, but also in terms of what we say collaborative governance, how we can make also people contribute to these designs, either through technology-informed platforms like crowd sourcing, so we make people brainstorm on the design of these spaces through competition or through community-led initiatives. Europe has been more pioneering that in terms of what we call participatory budgeting, where there are certain budgets that the community can tap into through their own initiatives and their own funds. And the third one, of course, is in making the relationship between the consultancy or the private entities and the authorities more seamless through data sharing. And also that's an area where I don't have much expertise, but this is one of the issues where that is very discussed, because what data can we give in order to benefit our plans, and what data is really going to be closed.
Okay. Thank you very much, Nadine. It was a great talk, and it was a pleasure listening to you.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.